Welcome to episode 12 of the Schoolhouse series. This is on call and response, and the intent of this video is to understand how to communicate with sound. Today's course overview is what is call and response, how to do it, and then different types of call and response patterns. So what is call and response? And it's exactly what it sounds like. So one element in your song calls out and another element responds to that call. And this little conversation bounces back and forth to create flows in your music. So we'll use this Avanci Odious track, for example. This dark blue is the call. The light blue is a response for the first 4 bars. Watch. As you can see. And then at the halfway point of that drop, he adds a variation change. So this would be the call, and this would be the response. And then it goes back into a new variation of what this is. As you can see, so we have call and response here, call, response, and then at the variation change, we have call and response. Now, there's even more call and response hidden in here. That is, this flow type here is a call, that being like a back and forth of these basses. And then the response to this back and forth is one big sustained flow, as you can see. This might even make more sense if I were to chop it up like this, right? So this would be the call of the first part of the drop, and then this would be the response at the halfway, and then he just duplicates it over with a little bit of variation change. So this is a perfect example of what call and response looks like visually and audibly. All right, now I'm going to show you how to do some call and response. I just want to let you know at this point, we're pretty much beating a dead horse because if you understood the first part of dragging in your favorite track, color coding it to the call and response pattern, all you have to do is just drag your samples underneath that pattern. But I'm just going to mess around with some samples of my own. Let's say I want this quarter note to be a call, and this guy down here is a response. Duplicate him 3 times. So we have a call here and then a response, and it fills in a bar in length, which is a perfect call and response pattern. And we can just duplicate that over. I want to bring these hi-hats back real quick because I did turn them off earlier. All right, so now let's listen. Yeah, that works. We could do something like this. Actually, let me just delete the calls real quick. I don't want those. Let's do a sustain. All right, so I found a sustain, and I want this to go for a half bar, right? And then this guy will be the response that comes after. Cool. So let's go ahead and listen to this. So we could do something like that, but hi-hats and cymbals are playing during the sustain, and I personally think it kind of ruins the call. So if we were to go up and disable these hi-hats, I think it sounds a little bit better. And the reason it sounds better is because this call specifically is a sustain, so it's just like a constant tone of a sound ringing through. And if you have background elements, it's going to ruin like the continuity of this. I guess the point I'm trying to land on is that you can make your call and responses more impactful by removing cymbals or some drum elements in tandem with your call and response. And you can have drum flows and drum patterns work in tandem with your call and response patterns to strengthen them in a way. So yeah, I think that's that. I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to go over because I could spend all day here just like writing call and response patterns. Just remember, if you know this first point of labeling a call and response pattern on a track, just mimic it yourself. All right, so now I'm going to show you different types of call and responses from some other people's music. So first here we got Jacqueline Hyde, and all of the light purple you see here are going to be calls, and then the pastel yellow, obviously the responses. So here he has these horns that are kind of just playing a very simple melody, like dropping down into the rhythm bass line like so. Perfect. And then he just repeats that at the halfway point of the drop again. And then here, I believe he's got like some fills, some variations. Yeah, like right there. He's using the same horns from the call to like add continuity to it. So yeah, don't get hung up on the idea that your call always has to be like some bass line to respond to the bass line. You can use instruments and melodies for a call and then have your bass line respond to that. Here is Hall's Karate Chop. Probably his best song ever. Let's just agree on that. So again, the call into the response. And then it duplicates over here. And that's like for the first part of the drop. And then the second half, he uses the same call and response pattern, except he just changes the call a little bit. You hear that part, that timbre? Ting! And then compared to this one. And then I think that's even different than this one. Yeah, so each call has a little bit of a different variation opposed to the last one to just create variation. But the main idea and concept of it remains stable, because if you start changing up your call like crazy in terms of arrangement and stuff every time, the listener is not going to be able to pick up on a pattern. And at that point, it's just experimental music and you're kind of low-key just making noise, like random noise. Here is Sudden Death. Probably one of his greatest tracks, if I'm being honest. It's Peanut Butter with Murata. I think this track absolutely slaps, but the call and response pattern is super simple. It's just repeating every bar, but listen. So he's got those like high pitched, like I think they're strings or something, like dee 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 dee, and then a little lower along like shh 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 shh. Yeah, so those are different types of call and responses. If you're trying to learn more about song structure and call and response, just start importing music, chopping it up by color, and just visualizing it and studying it. The final lesson of the Schoolhouse series. No, wrong. I screwed up. We missed a very important lesson called sidechaining, and I don't feel like re-recording all of the videos and editing all the title pages because sidechaining is supposed to go at the beginning. So it's going to go at the very end, and you have one more lesson before graduation. I apologize for that. I can't believe that I missed sidechaining. Crazy. So today we went over the concept of call and response, what it is. That being, you have a sound that initiates the conversation and then a bunch of other sounds replying to that. And that conversation format just continues to repeat. It's a pattern. And then you just spice up that pattern by adjusting like little variation changes to it, not adjusting the whole pattern itself, or else you're just making experimental at that point. And then I showed you some very basic call and response patterns, like with my own sounds, just screwing around. And then we went over types of call and responses from other DJs, how they're incorporating other instruments for their calls, like Jacqueline Hyde uses those big horns, and then he has his bass line like reply to that. You can also incorporate your drums into your call and response patterns by writing different drum lines, maybe taking some cymbals out to make your call more prominent, and then bringing them in at full force for your response to just make everything a little bit more impactful. So yeah, that's everything on call and response. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll catch you over in the next video.